Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, 32 AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan, with a goal of promoting, defending, protecting, encouraging, educating, and enlightening people across the state, the great state of Michigan, about this outdoor lifestyle that many of us have such a passion for. Hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and all things outdoors. That's what this show is about. A celebration of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. I was in the woods for the opening day of the firearm deer season, and it was great. I was out there with my son James, my grandson Trent, and my granddaughter Addison. We all met there at the trucks, went our separate ways. We stayed in touch via texting. What are you seeing? What do you know? And that's changed, right, since I was a kid. We know what deer are moving around the property, plus we've got cell cameras out there so we can keep an eye on them as well. Nobody shot anything that opening day where we were, no members of my family. But James had already taken a nice buck. Addison had already taken a nice buck. I know Trent's going to shoot something yet. And I was out there during gun season with my .30-06 leaning against the blind and with my dart and crossbow leaning against the blind. I was prepared for anything. I figure if something comes in that I want to shoot within 30 yards, I'm going to shoot it with a crossbow. If it's out there beyond that, I'm going to shoot it with a rifle. And can I be honest? I was kind of hoping it didn't come to the rifle. I really want to shoot something with my crossbow. I want to shoot a deer with my crossbow. I haven't done that yet this season. But it was just nice to be out there. It was nice. To be honest, my .30-06, my deer rifle comes out of the gun safe probably one day a year for the opening day. To be a part of that celebration, to be a part of that history and tradition. Other than that, I pick up my crossbow. And my goal is, as we're recording the show, is I hope to, my goal is to go out tomorrow evening with that crossbow during the firearm season and shoot a big doe. We got a lot of big does running around, and I think they want to end up in my freezer. I don't know if they think that, but I think that's what should happen. So that's my goal. I don't have a feel yet for what the season is looking like across the state. I mean, if you go online, if you go to my Facebook page, you're going to see a lot of pictures of great big bucks and some smaller bucks and some tiny bucks and some does. And it doesn't matter. I will share pictures of any legal harvest, and I will celebrate that harvest, and I will celebrate that experience, and I will celebrate that adventure, because that's what it's all about. Would we all love to shoot a big buck? Any deer hunter who says, I don't want to shoot a big buck, I think they're probably lying to you. And if I told you that, I'd be lying to you as well. Of course I would love to shoot a big buck. But how many of us really get the opportunity to do that? To shoot a big buck, you've got to be willing to let the smaller bucks pass. And you've got to be in an area where those big bucks are. Not everybody in our state is so blessed to be able to do that. We are seeing a trend here in Michigan that hunters are starting to pass as a whole, as a group, and I credit the APR people for this, the Let 'em Go, Let 'em Grow people for this. I haven't always agreed with them, but I will give them credit that they have helped to change the mindset here in Michigan, and that's no small task. They've done that in only about 10 years, so good for them. I personally have no interest in shooting a 1.5-year-old buck. I've let a lot of them walk in front of me. If I'm going to shoot a buck, I want it to be a nice buck. But again, and I've said this every week, and I will say it every week, if you want to shoot a 1.5-year-old buck, if you want to shoot a spike, God bless you. Seriously. It is your hunt. It is your license. It is your tag. It is your adventure. It is your experience. Hunt your hunt. Whatever that is. Whether it's a recurve, a crossbow, a compound, a muzzleloader, a 30-06, whatever it is, a 450, a 350, whatever, a handgun, whatever it is. I will celebrate your experience with you. I will congratulate you, and I will wish you well in eating that venison. That's what it's all about. You know, it was my dad who instilled this love of the outdoors in my soul. And I thank him for that. But I'm not alone. There are a lot of Michigan families like the Avery family. It is part of our history and tradition. And getting out there during gun season to try to put something down and put something in the freezer is an honorable goal. It is biologically sound. It is biologically necessary. If you want to go this route, and I will, it's ordained by God. Get out there, be safe, be legal, and have fun, and good luck to you. I told you I was out there opening day with my 30-06 centerfire rifle, obviously. A cheap Remington, but it'll do the job that I want it to do, and my dart and crossbow. And I took a picture of them side by side there in the blind. And I had some people react to that post saying, "Ooh, can you do that? Avery, we think you just posted a picture of you doing something illegal." I promise you this, I would never intentionally do anything illegal in the woods, and I would certainly hope I would never post a picture of me doing it. Yes, the archery season is closed during the firearm season in Michigan. But that doesn't mean you can't hunt with archery tackle during the firearm season. You can, but you have to wear blaze orange. That's all it is. You can sit in your tree stand with your recurve, your compound, your crossbow, your longbow. As long as you've got orange on, you're legal. You can do it. So if that's what drives you, then continue to do it. Have at it. I had heard reports, and these are all preliminary. We won't know the final numbers until after the season, but there was some talk going around that the number of Michigan hunters, the number of Michigan deer license sales had dropped precipitously. Fortunately, precipitously is a subjective term. The numbers are down, yes. Now, you will remember that in 2020, license sales took a big jump. And the thinking was, okay, there were a lot of people that were not working because of COVID. They had time on their hands. They were looking for something to do, and they got back into deer hunting. They got back into the woods, and I thought that was one positive thing to come out of COVID. The question, the concern was, can we continue that trend, or is this just a one-time blip in the road, a positive blip? Can we continue those numbers? Preliminary numbers for 2021 show that license sales are down 4 to 5% over 2020. Is that good news? No, of course not. But the good news in this is the numbers are still higher than what they were in 2019. So we gained a whole bunch of hunters in 2020. We lost some of those, but our numbers are still higher than they were in 2019. So I consider that to be positive. I'm going to try to always look for the positive if I can, right? If there's something positive in a situation, I'm going to do my best to bring that out and bring that to light. So how have you done, by the way? Did you shoot your buck? Did you get your doe? Were you hunting in the snow up north? Were you hunting in the cornfields, the probably now picked cornfields of southern Michigan? Were you using your 450, your 350? Your .06, your crossbow, whatever it was. It's a wonderful tradition, and there are some states in the country who can share this deer hunting tradition that we have. Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Texas. But it's something we have here that is unique, and I would encourage you. Even though it's, it can be cold and it can be miserable, you can dress for it, you can be warm, get out there and take advantage of it. And can you believe, as you are hearing this radio show or podcast, can you believe that Thursday is Thanksgiving? Where did that come from? How did that happen? When I was a kid growing up, we'd go out and hunt opening day, maybe the second day, maybe the third, and then really not hunt again until maybe the Thanksgiving weekend. So there's still time. And then, of course, there's the late season coming up. The rundown for this week's show, coming up after the break, Jeania Canel of Jay's Sporting Goods. And I want to talk to her about muzzle loading. Is it still a thing anymore? You know, now that in the southern part of the state, some places you can use a centerfire rifle, you got the 450, the 350. Are people still even getting out there muzzleloading hunting? We'll talk to her about that. Can you get ammo? Can you get handguns? And then Elliot Shafer of the Michigan Wildlife Council will check in with an update on their Here for Generations campaign. In hour number 2, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Retired Coastie, and to me, Coastie, retired Coast Guardsman, Coastie is a term of affection, respect. Joe Marion talking about cold water safety. Ice fishing season's coming up. A lot of people are still out there on the open water. You got to keep your wits about you in near freezing water. Nick Green of MUCC joins us toward the end of hour number 2. And in hour number 3, we'll go back to deer hunting, talk with Tim Roller of Whitetail Journey, and then wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar will have another great venison recipe. So a busy show coming up. I'm glad you're with us here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. 32 stations across the great state of Michigan. Again, so glad to have you along with us. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and the website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Feel free to check in. Feel free to send me a message. Share your pictures to my Facebook page. Post them, and I will be sure to share them. Glad you're with us this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK, that's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Manistee on WTIQ, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in Lansing on WILS, 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Rapid River Knife Works. I've got a Rapid River knife in my pocket. Actually, I just pulled it out. It's a beautiful knife, handmade, custom knife. They do a great job. You carry a knife every day, you use a knife every day. Why not make it a handmade, custom-made knife out of the UP by the craftsmen at Rapid River Knife Works? Check them out online at rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. And looking ahead to Christmas, I realize, hey, listen, Thanksgiving's not here yet, but looking down the road, and I bring this up now because they've been very, very busy, a knife is an excellent, excellent Christmas gift for the outdoor enthusiast on your list. So either swing by the showroom in Rapid River in the UP or head to the website rapidriverknifeworks.com and grab a knife. One other option, the folks at Jay's Sporting Goods sell Rapid River knives as well. So stop by Jay's in Clare or Gaylord and you can check them out there. And I bring up Jay's for a couple of reasons. Number one, in the first segment, I was talking about this history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan that many of us have such a passion for. I love working with the folks at Jay's because they share that passion. Jay's is celebrating their 50th anniversary, fourth generation of the Poet family working in that store. I have much respect for the folks at Jay's, including Jeania Canel. Jeania's been at Jay's a long time. She's the manager of the gun department of their Clare store, and she joins me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jeania, welcome back. How are you?
I'm fine, Mike. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, how's your deer season going so far? How'd your opening day go? Because I know they actually closed down the store so you guys can get out.
They did. That is a tradition for us for rifle season, so that's a true blessing. We need the break. I let a little one go, so I was not successful, but I got lots of time left, so I'll go out and set some more.
Lots of time. Now, Jeania, in your position there as the manager, I suspect you could take any gun into the woods that you want for opening day. What did you have with you?
Oh, I use a Seiko 25-06.
Why that one? Why a 25-06?
You know, I've just always kind of been fascinated by the caliber. It's fast, flat shooting, and it gets the job done for me. So here in Michigan, it's plenty.
Jeania, you've been at Jay's a long time now. What's it like from the inside, being, basically part of that Jay's family? What is that like, a 50-year tradition that you guys are continuing every day?
It's exciting. It's very rewarding to work for a business such as Jay's. They're great people to work with. I think I've said that numerous times on here, and I don't say it just for the sake of saying it. It is truly amazing how they take care of us and just the history behind it. And I was one of the, fortunate ones, if you will, to work with Jay. So I always say I was kind of raised by him in that aspect. So it's just a great place to work. They have a great philosophy for taking care of the customers and taking care of their employees, and it's just truly a blessing to work here.
The last year has been a challenge, as it has for everybody in the gun business, the ammo business, I guess across the board, anything. How are things looking now? How are the stocks? How are the shelves? Because you were faced with a tremendous shortage there for a while.
Right. I would say that it's a daily process. Today we might look good, and tomorrow we might be right back to, bare bones again. We get product in daily. It's just not the pallets of, that we're used to back in the day. Savage would come in and it'd be pallets of Savage, or Remington would come in and it would be pallets of Remington. Now you get maybe, 3 or 4 Savages a day, and, Remington is no longer in existence. It's Rem Arms now. So we might get a couple of those, get a few Rugers, but, we get product in daily. It's just not like it used to be.
And when that product comes in, does it sit there for a while, or is it gone right away?
It depends on what it is. If it's ammo and people are looking for what we have, we do have limits. We have to have limits just to allow everybody else to get a fair chance at it. But typically it's in and out. Guns, it depends. Right now, of course, rifles are moving. Shotguns, not so much. Pistols are always moving. So our pistol lineup is pretty good. I will say that. We've gotten pistols in, and we've been able to get, quantity of some of them. So that's nice. But, other things like the smaller, the accessory stuff, that's just as bad as the ammo and the guns. It's just hit or miss. And we do a lot more business through distribution now because, and using distributors that we haven't used in the past, because we're just trying to get product in here.
You mentioned pistols. We're talking hunting handguns or concealed carry, self-defense?
No, more concealed carry, self-defense. Our revolver lineup is pretty light.
And what's hot in concealed carry these days? What are people looking for?
The SIG, 365s and whatnot, those are still hot. A lot of the Smith & Wesson lineup, the Easies and the Shields, stuff like that. It varies from person to person. Kimbers, when we can get those, that's still right up there. So,
yeah. And this, do you see, there's not a quick, easy end to this whole supply situation. This is going to take a while yet, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. I don't even want to speculate, Mike. I have an idea
no, I'm not asking you to.
of how far out we're looking, but it's not anytime soon.
Do you know yet, is there going to be a SHOT Show this year?
Conversation I heard yesterday, Sunday maybe, was that yes, but I do not believe that we're partaking in it. A lot of the vendors have backed out, which would be ones that we'd be interested in seeing. And I think that it was also mentioned that it was definitely a masked event. So yeah. I believe that I had heard that we were not gonna partake this year. Well,
and same thing with the ATA Archery Trade Show. Now, that wouldn't be under your under your direction, but the same thing. A lot of the big companies aren't coming. I don't know, Jeania. I look at this and it's like you can do so many things online, so many things virtually these days. Why spend the money to go to these events that some of the big dogs aren't even at anymore?
Right. Right, and I think that's what the mindset is here as well. And, we get the reps that are coming in more frequently, where before, during the whole pandemic, we didn't see a rep for quite a while. But now we do see them coming through. So that's a big lifeline for us as well as our reps, so.
Well, and Jay started out as a small mom and pop shop. You've grown to something more than that, but I got to believe what you are these days does help because you are a known player nationally in the retail, the sporting goods industry. So that's got to help you get more product, more attention than some of the other places.
It puts us in a little better standing when it comes to allocations with our distributors, yes. So, but as far as putting us ahead of, what isn't out there to be had,
it's not there. It's not there.
Any good. So I do know that one of our vendors, when they sent out an email to my buyers, it was basically first come, first serve. So don't dally. Get your orders in, and unfortunately, this is the way it's going to be. So they've been jumping on that, because if we don't have the product, it's not doing us any good. So we're taking every step we can to stay ahead of the ball and to get product in here.
First come, first serve, take what you can get. Is that the same advice you would give to your customers as well? I mean, if you find it and you think you're going to want it, get it?
Yeah, I would not procrastinate. Yeah.
Hey, the reason I wanted to talk originally was talking about muzzleloader season. Traditionally here in Michigan, after the firearm season, we've got the muzzleloader season. My question is, Jeania, is that still a thing? Now in some parts of the southern part of the state, you can use a center fire rifle. You got the 450, the 350. Is muzzleloading still a big deal these days?
I wouldn't say it's a big deal to a lot of people. It's a big deal to the diehards that have done it from the beginning of it. But no, it's definitely died off. We used to have a big black powder weekend, and that quickly fizzled when the 350, the 450, the straight well cartridges could be used, and so we've really seen a slowdown in that area.
Is there a shortage in black powder supplies like primers and such? Are they tough to get to?
Yep. Powder, any type of powder, primers. It's not good.
The folks who are still into muzzleloading, are they the inline, the I hate to call them high tech, but the more sophisticated muzzleloaders? Are we still talking the real basic flintlock, percussion cap, that type of thing?
No, they've moved to the more modern. And I was thinking about that too because I used to shoot. It was a Thompson Center Hawk and Cougar. Jay got it for me, and used to shoot that, and that was round ball and patch, and side lock, and I've graduated into the more modern ones. But I was thinking about that. I'm thinking, Die Hard is really that group, because the cleaning and the maintenance on those was so much tougher than what we're faced with today. But still you have to be up on it. You have to keep them clean. You have to, maintain them in order to make them work properly. But I enjoy it. I go to Nebraska black powder hunting, and I really enjoy the sport. But
when do you head out there, Jeania?
Usually around the second week of December is when we go. So I haven't got the dates nailed down, but.
Gotcha. We're talking with Jeania Canel of Jay's Sporting Goods. She's the manager of the gun department at Jay's Clare store. We'll take a break. We'll continue our conversation with Jeania. Jay's, of course, 2 outdoor superstores. The original store in Clare. Well, the original store, and this goes back to their 50th anniversary. The original store started in the Poet Garage in the city of Clare. Then they outgrew that. They moved to the famous Blue Building in the city of Clare. They outgrew that. And then Jay Poet said, I want to move north of town to, at the time, was a hayfield a mile north of town. People said, Jay, you're crazy. Nobody's going to drive a mile outside the city of Clare to find your store. And boy, did he prove them wrong. They outgrew that. They expanded a couple times. They moved up to Gaylord, outgrew that store, built another one there. It's a great family success story here in the great state of Michigan, jaysportinggoods.com. More coming up. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on WCHT in Escanaba, 600 AM, 95.3 FM, two of our newest affiliates. Staying in the UP, you can hear us in the Sioux on ESPN 1400 WKNW. And let's head downstate to WKBZ in Muskegon, 1090 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry since 1946, when Rollin Boning invented ferrule-tight. Is it Rollin or rolling? I've heard it both ways. Mr. Boning invented ferrule-tight to glue broadheads to what at the time were wooden shafts. These days, Boning continues to innovate. They come up with new products for target archers and bow hunters, and they continue to evolve and improve their facilities as well. I've got a buddy who just did a major upgrade on the computerized manufacturing process there, so Boning can continue to grow past this 75-year mark. Check them out online at boning.com, B-O-H-N-I-N-G, boning.com. And by the way, you can buy Boning products at Jay's Sporting Goods. I bring up Jay's because right now I'm talking with Jeania Canel of Jay's. She's the manager of the gun department of Jay's Clare store. Jeania, how have things changed, the firearm world, the gun world, since you started there at Jay's several years ago?
Oh, boy. In a lot of ways. Gosh, one thing that comes to mind right now is, just legal things. Like back when I started, you used to have to keep a log for anybody buying pistol ammo that was under, I believe it was 21. We don't do that anymore. Our background checks are all done electronically now, so that's huge for us. A lot cleaner, a lot easier, less mistakes to be made. I think the overall, caliber changes that come about and the different types of firearms that come about. You see manufacturers come and go. A lot more women, it seems to be, taking on the sport, whether it be hunting or just shooting, as a sport. Just a lot of things that have changed.
What about the guns themselves? Now, the guns I had when I was a kid, they were all wood stocks. They were blued barrels, and I felt like, I felt like maybe they were of a higher quality than the guns that are out there today. But I have a feeling that's not the case, because these guns today, they got synthetic stocks, they got barrels that I don't have to worry about getting fingerprints on. I don't worry about rust as much. What's the quality like today compared to years ago?
I think there's quality in the manufacturers. Some have higher quality, than others. You take Weatherby, for example. They're up there with the Mark Vs and the nice glossy stocks and stuff like that. And you take somebody else who's kind of like a mid runner, like Savage. You're not going to get into that high grade of a firearm. But a Savage is a good shooting gun right out of the box, so I don't want to take anything away
and I understand that. Absolutely. And if you take one of these Savages, they are probably more accurate than most Michigan deer hunters will ever need.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've learned that throughout the years, and the other one that comes to mind is the Ruger Americans. Ruger used to be, have some beautiful wood stock guns, and they still do a little bit, but they're, they've come down and they're doing the American now. So, you've got to stay in the running with everybody else, or you're going to miss out. So you see that across the board in a lot of the manufacturers as well. So,
taking our conversation back to muzzleloaders, and I don't even know if they offer these with the supply chain issues we have these days, but you used to be able to buy beginning muzzleloading packages in a bubble pack, all ready to go, everything you were going to need except for powder. Are they still out there, and is that a good option for people wanting to get into the sport?
Yeah, somebody that wants to start out, that is a good option. Sadly enough, I don't think I have anything out there right now, and I haven't seen them come in like we used to get them.
Sure.
But yeah, you're going to get everything basically, but powder and primer in there, so somebody that wants to start out, and that's the thing with muzzleloaders, I always tell people, don't go too deep in one thing, because you don't know if your gun's going to shoot loose powder better or the pellets better. You don't know what grain of bullet you're going to want or what type of bullet, so you just want to start out in the minimal aspect and shoot it, get behind it, see what it's going to do, and then, work from there.
That's a very interesting point. Muzzleloading is a great activity, a great passion for people who are tinkerers. You like to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. It's for people who really want to get into their sport, it's a great option.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. I've shot pellets before, and I don't like them. It doesn't give me the grain that I need, so I shoot loose powder. So I've switched bullets periodically throughout the years. I shot a mule deer. Oh, gosh, I had enough time to reload 3 different times. I use speed loaders, of course, but, crazy, right, Mike? Yeah. And he still, unfortunately, the bullet did not do the trick that I wanted it to, so I ended up switching out. So
I bet you
and
did.
Sometimes and sometimes you don't know those things until it happens, but... Yep.
Well, Jeania, listen, always a pleasure. Good luck at the rest of the Michigan firearm season. Good luck out there in Nebraska. Keep up the good work there at Jay's, and I will look forward to talking to you again.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. And you have fun out there in the outdoors as well.
I will certainly do that. Jeania Canel of Jay's Sporting Goods. She's the manager of the gun department of Jay's Clare store. Of course, there's a superstore in Clare and in Gaylord as well. You can check them out online at jaysportinggoods.com. That's jaysportinggoods.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Elliot Shafer of the Michigan Wildlife Council checks in with an update on their Here for Generations campaign. And in hour number 2, Joe Marion talking about how to stay safe when you're on the water, on the ice or on cold water this time of year, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Port Huron on WPHM 1380 AM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. And you can hear us in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. Just a few of our 32 Michigan radio stations. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website, mucc.org. That's mucc.org. By the way, you can save 25% on your MUCC membership by using the promo code Mike, all caps, MIKE, at that website, mucc.org. MUCC, in my opinion, a great pro-conservation group right here in the great state of Michigan. Another group that I am very pleased to work with is the Michigan Wildlife Council. This was a group formed a few years ago to raise awareness about the importance of hunting and fishing and trapping and conservation and the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan. Elliot Shafer is a member of the Michigan Wildlife Council, and he joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Elliot, welcome back. How are you?
Well, Mike, thanks for having me again. Great to hear your voice, and hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Always a pleasure to talk to you again, and especially this time of year, during the heart of the firearm deer season, when a lot of people are thinking about the outdoors here in Michigan. It's an interesting time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, no question. You got Thanksgiving coming up, opening day. This is another big holiday for a lot of people in this state. This past Monday, I was out in the deer blind, didn't have any luck, but I had some friends bring some down. So great time of year, isn't it?
It is, and it's not about the harvest. Guys like you and I know this, Elliot. It's not about the harvest. It's about the experience and sharing that experience.
No question. Yeah, absolutely. Bringing folks that sometimes don't have the opportunity, because in my opinion, hunting's a lot about opportunity, and it was actually one of my first times deer hunting. So,
oh really?
Nice to be out there. Had a great time. Had a few does come by, but again, no, you're right. It's not about the harvest. It's about the tradition.
Now, you say it was your first time deer hunting. You're primarily a bird hunter, aren't you, Elliot?
I am, correct. Yeah, I've got a short hair, and we spend a lot of time in the northern Michigan woods, chasing rough grouse and woodcock, but and doing some waterfowl hunting as well. But have expanded my horizons and am now considered a deer hunter. So,
And how did your bird season go this year?
it was great. I thought the rough grouse population was very strong. We did I was up probably 3 or 4 times and did some day hunts as well, and we did great. So I had a lot of fun with it as well.
Elliot, how would you characterize the Here for Generations campaign, the website hereformioutdoors.org? My sense is, I mean, this is not a quick fix, but my sense is slowly and gradually you guys are starting to make a definite impact.
Yeah, no question. I think through a number of marketing outreach, we've got some exciting things coming up. You'll see us on TV and social media ads and digital ads, but we're also sponsoring the Turkey Tom Balloon and the Thanksgiving Day Parade here in Detroit coming up next week. I'll be down there, excited to see the balloon, and we're just trying a little at a time to continue to push our message, which is hunting and fishing and conservation are very important for the state, both from an economic standpoint and tradition standpoint. So,
why should we care, Elliot? As you know, a lot of my audience is hardcore hunters and anglers. Why do we care what the non-hunting or angling public think about what we do?
Yeah, I mean, it's got for a number of reasons, Mike. I think our voting constituents are a lot of them based in the urban centers are sometimes don't have the same views that a lot of us outdoorsmen do about the importance of hunting and fishing. For moments when legislation is proposed that could potentially be anti-hunting and fishing, we want the voters to show out. So, number one, there. Number two, it's obviously vitally important for the economic state of Michigan. Getting people to understand that and promote it ultimately will continue to lead to the success of the tradition, a great tradition we have here in the state.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, these people are voters, and like it or not, we as hunters and anglers are outnumbered by the non-hunters and anglers, so we need their support. We need their backing and their understanding when they go to the polls.
That's correct. Yep, no question.
Elliot, keep up the good work at the Michigan Wildlife Council. I'm really glad to be working with you guys, and I'm really glad that there is an agency, a group, a council like you guys who have the resources and the connections and the desire and the passion to get the word out. And so I appreciate everything you guys are doing.
No, Mike, thanks a lot. It's a great group, and we appreciate your partnership. So all the best. Have a great Thanksgiving, and thanks for your time.
You as well. Appreciate your time. Elliot Shafer of the Michigan Wildlife Council, a new member of the deer hunting community and a hardcore member of the bird hunting community. You can learn more about the Michigan Wildlife Council at their website, hereformioutdoors.org, hereformioutdoors.org. And I will look forward to that Thanksgiving Day Parade to see their impact and their influence and their appearance there as well. We'll take a break for the top of the hour here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Joe Marion checks in. Joe shot a nice buck on the opening day of the firearm season. I will certainly ask him to tell that story and some advice as well on how to stay safe as we get into the early ice fishing season. A lot of people are still out fishing in boats and rivers and streams and such. You don't want to go into near freezing water. Well, Joe will give us advice on how to stay safe and not do that. Then Nick Green of the Michigan United Conservation Clubs. And this week's Ask Avery segment about archery hunting during the firearm season. All that and more coming up in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter. I do certainly appreciate that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, heard on 32 AM and FM stations, radio stations across the great state of Michigan. I say that because of the confusion these days in radio and podcasting. This is first and foremost a radio show. It's a 3-hour program produced, recorded, designed, scheduled, distributed primarily as a radio show. And I think the best way to listen to Outdoor Magazine Radio, if you can, is on your local AM or FM radio station. 32 of them now across the great state of Michigan. Our radio stations get the content before the podcast version is uploaded. And on your local radio station, you can hear your local commercials, news, sports, even an ad. Maybe there's something you want to take advantage of, a sale locally you want to take advantage of. So the best way, again, in my opinion, to listen to Outdoor Magazine Radio, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. However, if you can't, if your local affiliate doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, and most of them do, but if your local affiliate doesn't carry all 3 hours, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, the footprint of the radio show, isn't it nice to know that there is a podcast version available? And the podcast is nothing more than the audio, the sound from the radio show, made available somewhere other than on your local station. Now, where would that be? It would be on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, on my Facebook page. Basically, anywhere that you get your podcasts from, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show, including Amazon Music, Audible, Twitter, LinkedIn, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, the whole list. Even on YouTube. So wherever you get your podcasts from, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. Speaking of podcasts, I do monthly podcasts for several companies, including Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Polar Craft, Shadow Hunter Blinds. I encourage you to check those out as well. We spent most of the first hour talking about hunting, the hunting season, deer hunting season, of course. My guest this hour, my first guest this hour, is an avid outdoorsman, a good friend of mine, just a very, very interesting guy. His name is Joe Marion. Avid hunter, avid angler, spent a very interesting and wonderful career in the Coast Guard. These days he's retired. So it means he has more time, in theory, to go hunting and fishing. Joe Marion, welcome back to the show. How are you, buddy?
Great. I wish I had all that time to go.
Oh, so retirement isn't what they make it out to be, huh?
I'm still working. I'm working on my third retirement.
Well,
you never have enough.
You did have time to get out opening day, though, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you shot a nice buck. I saw it online. Tell me that story, Joe.
Well, I got out to my blind early at about 6 o'clock in the morning and sat back in my chair until about 10 to 7, and I opened up my little towels I had covering the windows and started looking around. It started getting a little bit lighter, and shooting time for us here was like 7:10. And I noticed that I'm sitting in an apple orchard on the edge of a farmed field that the farmer used hayed it off this year, and he planted hog radishes at the end of August for a nitrogen base that he's going to till in the spring. So the deer are just loving the hog radishes, and the apple trees I have are just loaded, so they're all over the place. I had a dozen deer at me at daylight. And all does and small bucks, little spikes and forkies, and I turned and I looked out into the radish field. The farthest corner to the northeast is about 120, 130 yards that I can see because it drops out a hill. And I see this big-bodied deer walking my way, so I grabbed my binoculars, looked, holy crap, it's got a nice set of antlers on it. So I dropped the binoculars, grabbed the rifle, put it out the window, and by that time he had closed the distance to about 80 yards and then turned sideways and walked parallel to me, gave me a beautiful 65-yard broadside shot at 7:13.
It sounds to me like that buck wanted to go home with you, Joe.
It did. And 3 minutes after shooting time, I pulled the trigger. It's the first time in my hunting career that I got a buck on opening day and opening morning, and was second shot that I heard in the morning.
Well, congrats to you. That's pretty cool. And that spot, you got radishes and apples. Man, we can't bait, but you were in the perfect legal baited situation.
Oh, most definitely. This is the first year he planted radishes in there. All the rest of the time, I've always had to deal with what was left over from either corn or squash or just hay. And last year we had corn, but I had 0 apples. My trees got all frosted out and didn't have any apples last year. This year I have just as many still on the trees as I have on the ground right now. It's just unreal.
So will you go out during the season and try to fill that second tag?
Oh, yeah, I've already been out. I've been looking. Haven't seen anything come in yet, but I had been seeing lots of does and small bucks, so I'm still waiting.
Well, when you start the season off with a big buck 2 minutes into the season, it's kind of hard to top that, Joe.
It is, but I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what these hog radishes are going to be when we start getting some real snow on the ground.
Is that the type of thing? Yeah, once they freeze and the other food goes away, this is going to become even more of a magnet, I would imagine.
Big time. The leaves are a brassica, so they once they freeze, they turn sugary for the deer.
Yeah, I would sit over that the rest of the season if I was you.
Oh yeah, I'm actually kind of hoping I could make it to muzzleloader.
Well, good. Well, listen, congrats on that. And also, listen, one of your post-retirement careers is a charter boat captain out there on Lake Michigan. How did your season go this year, Joe?
We did really well. It was a good season for us. Ludington had a lot of fish out there and a lot of big fish. As you well know, we broke the new state record and Great Lake record off the state park point by one of the local charter boat captains with a 48-pound fish. So it was a good year for us. Unfortunately, it was the last year for Rodmaster.
Wow, really? Oh, no.
Yeah, 16 years of running that boat, and the boss decided that it was time to retire it, and so we sold it. It went to Lake Erie as it's going to be walleye fishing now. We don't know if we're going to think about getting another boat. Probably will once we figure out that we really need one. But we're going to freelance. So the numbers for Rodmaster are still active. You can still call us. We'll let you know who we are fishing with. I got 3 different boats that I'm probably going to be working on this summer coming up, starting in May for lake trout, browns, and then working into June, July with another boat, and then the 3rd boat for kings in August. So.
Joe, you are a big water addict. You've spent your entire life, your entire career out there. There's no way in the world you're not going to be out there next summer.
Oh, I'll be there. I will be there. Come, say hell or high water, I'll be there.
I can plan on that. Hey, listen, I want to go back to that big state record king. I never in my life, I've been expecting a new state record walleye for years now. It hasn't happened, but I never, ever expected a new state record king salmon.
I'll tell you, the DNR set us up for it with the plant cuts on the plants, not listening to us when we're telling them that we have more bait than what they thought they had. And they keep saying that we don't have anything over 6-year class. I was pulling alewives that were 8, almost 9 inches out of fish this year. That's a 8-10-year-old alewife. Those are ancient, they're big, they're fat, they had lots of energy in them. And I don't, we keep telling the DNR that they're doing something that's not quite looking right, and they need to look in a different spot because they're not seeing what we're seeing. So they're starting to listen now. A couple years ago, we had the banner year of Kings, where Captain Chuck's, our local tackle shop here in Ludington, weighed in over 80 Kings over 30 pounds.
Wow.
This year they didn't reach that high, but we got that king that was huge, and I was right next to him when he caught it.
No kidding.
What kills me is that he caught it on a 300 copper with a Raspberry Carbon 14 moonshine spoon. I was running my Raspberry Carbon 14 on a 200 copper. I'm kind of glad I didn't catch it.
Well, why do you say that? Why? What?
It's too much fame. I already had my big brown back there, in the beginning of 2000s and 2005 there. I got my big brown. That was enough fame. I didn't need a state record, gang.
I got to be honest. Anybody I've ever talked to who caught a world record or a state record fish, I'm not talking like a dogfish or something, but something that people are really, not that people aren't interested in dogfish, but a salmon.
Oh yeah.
And they say, you know what? I could have done without it. It was more hassle than it was worth.
Oh heck yeah. It's everybody's calling you, wanting to see it. They want you to come to bring the fish to the replica to the fish. So we have a replica. It just gets it's a lot of work catching a big a state or world record fish.
I will tell you this: if there is a new state record walleye in my future, I will embrace it. I will not turn my back on it. I will accept that responsibility.
Oh, I'll accept it when it happens, but sometimes I can say I'm glad I was half a mile to the right.
Oh, so close, Joe. So close. Hang tight, Joe. Hang tight. Got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Joe Marion, retired Coastie, semi-retired charter captain, big buck shooter, and cold water safety expert. And that's what we'll talk about after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Iron Mountain on WMIQ 1450 AM. In Tawas, WIOS AM and FM 1480 AM 106.9 FM. And in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. You know I love that. Also, a great jumping-off spot for fall waterfowl hunting. If you need your boat winterized still, if you need storage, Linwood Beach can help you with that. And if we get an ice fishing season on Saginaw Bay, Linwood Beach is the perfect spot to jump off on your ice fishing adventure. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com, linwoodbeachmarina.com. Speaking of ice fishing and Saginaw Bay, that leads me right into my guest right now. His name is Joe Marion, retired Coast Guardsman. Joe, I want to follow up on something, though. You mentioned Rodmaster was temporarily out of business, but that website, rodmasterfishing.com, that's still in the future, how people can get in touch with you and see what you're going to do next summer?
Exactly, and
okay.
It's going to, the phone numbers on it are still active,
okay.
So they can still call, and if we can't accommodate you, we'll find you a place to
Gotcha. Now, I mentioned, you were talking about that big king that was caught off Ludington, where you are now. But earlier in your life, earlier in your career, speaking of Saginaw Bay, Linwood Beach Marina, you spent a little time on the east side of the state, too, didn't you?
I grew up in Tawas. And I was stationed in Tawas twice, but I was also stationed at Saginaw River Station for 5 years. And did a lot of ice rescue cases, both good and bad outcomes. And from there, we started in early 2000s. We started looking at all the equipment that we had been using over the last 120 years and decided that it was time to revamp it. And we put together a whole new system at that point in time of new equipment, new operating procedures and policies, and which benefited us for being safe and benefited the public for better and quicker rescues.
Joe, you were instrumental in how the Coast Guard looked at these ice rescues and changing the way they did things. Congrats to you.
Thank you.
So what did you learn? I mean, what did you learn? Listen, you're an avid ice angler. What did you learn in your career in Coast Guard rescues and recoveries that you can tell us, impart to us then as ice fishermen, what to keep in mind when we're out there?
Don't let the fish run your fishing trip. That was the biggest thing. When up to that point, there was no ice. No ice is safe ice.
Yep.
You couldn't go out there. But when we had policies where we couldn't do something, like we were pulling at that time, we were pulling a 14-foot aluminum boat full of 200 pounds worth of gear with 3 guys dragging it across the ice to go out to do a rescue and being passed by guys in Suburbans going out to their ice fishing spot. It was one of those things where we said, we got to change because, we're being looked at as the rescuers, but we're not equipped for it. People are going to go. People are going to go fishing, and that's the one thing that the Coast Guard had to realize is people were going to go, no matter what. That fishing was there, and but there is a lot of safety equipment. There's a lot more safety equipment, and a lot more modern stuff since I retired. I've been retired for 15 years now.
No kidding, man.
Yeah, and things have changed.
Of course, you retired when you were 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I wish. Yeah, but this equipment is there, and people need to utilize it, and that's the most important thing I can tell the people is use the equipment that's there. I'll tell you what, there's something that was just thinking about on that break is EPIRBs, emergency position indicating radio beacons that we have on charter boats. You put it on there. If we go down and we don't have any power, you flip the antenna up, push a button, and it transmits a signal that the Coast Guard and the Air Force can triangulate on, and it's labeled to us. They have those for personnel, for people, and you take that with you. And if you get stranded on the ice, that's going to be a game changer for being able to be found.
Well, Joe, people would say, well, why don't I just use my cell phone to do that?
Well, let's say your cell phone gets wet. Some of them aren't waterproof. Some of them are. Battery life in those, you're using them. It's cold out there. The batteries go down quicker. The EPIRB isn't on. It's not on until you turn it on. So the battery in it should be perfect, and it's transmitting right on a signal right away that the Coast Guard and the Air Force are listening to. Gotcha.
I always get nervous when I see that first guy. I, as a big guy, am never going to be that first guy that walks out on the ice.
No, me neither. Unless I'm wearing a dry suit and I have a rope tethered to me. But, no, yeah, you're right. And it's that first person. There's always going to be that first person.
Yep.
And, sometimes you see them, they'll have 2x4 strapped to their feet or...
It's crazy.
But that first ice, that first hard, clear ice that's a couple inches thick will support quite a bit more than, say, slush ice or snow ice or anything else gets formed by different things. But if you're walking out there and it's that's super clear and you're looking through at the bottom, it's like a glass bottom boat, and it's about 2 inches thick. That's a good hard first ice that I would even trust.
That's interesting. All ice is not equal.
No, it's not. You'll get some, if it's snowing really hard, you'll get what we call a snow ice or slush ice. It's more of an opaque color. It's got a lot of air pockets in it and bubbles, and it's not quite as thick, or not quite as strong, I should say, as clear ice. Clear ice, you can see right through it, and there's nothing stopping it because it's just solid ice. And all ice is weak if it doesn't have the water backing it. That's what allows you to walk on the ice is the water underneath holds it. Once if the water drops out below it, that 2 inches of ice ain't gonna hold you. But it's being supported by the water that it's floating on, and it makes it pretty easy to walk on and hold you. But you get the snow ice, you can't see if there's a big air pocket that you might be stepping on only a half inch.
Joe, in your training, in your years as the Coast Guard, you intentionally went through the ice many times. Oh. What is that like? If we're out there ice fishing or walking out to our spot, and God forbid we drop through, what does that do to our body? What does it do to our brain? What is it like?
It's a shocker if you're not ready for it. And that's one of the reasons why everybody in the Coast Guard who does ice rescue goes in the water with the dry suits. One, to find out it's not so bad. But two, when your head gets wet, okay, it's like going to 7-Eleven and getting a Slurpee and sucking it down real hard the first time, and you get a brain freeze.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got to survive that brain freeze. You got to know that it's going to happen if your head gets wet. Ice breaks, you start going down. First thing you want to do is throw your arms out so that you can grab any ice that you're falling down to try to keep your head up and start scissor kicking as fast as you can so your head doesn't go underwater. That's gonna help you the most, because if your head goes underwater, you get that brain freeze, that initial shock. That's a very delirious. It takes a few minutes to shake from that. By that time, your body's already falling into hypothermia.
Well, you don't have a lot of time, right? In near freezing water. How much time do you have, Joe?
Well, it's frozen water. It's 32 degrees, and you got less than 10 minutes to gather your senses and get out before your senses start diminishing. Your hands will start going numb. You won't be able to grab a hold of things. After that, your judgment starts getting clouded and things like that. Once you get past that, euphoria will set in, and then you'll just think that you're in a hot tub somewhere and it'll just be gone.
Well, you got heavy clothes on, you got heavy boots. All this is going to become waterlogged. Can a guy even pull himself out of the ice? Is it, for the average middle-aged, overweight ice fisherman, is it physically even possible to pull yourself out?
Yes, it is. But you're not going to do it without a tool. You need to have ice awls. You need to have something in your hands that you can use as an ice pick, whether you make them homemade with old screwdrivers, wood dowels and nails, or buy the orange plastic handles with the points that have retractable covers on them. You need something that can dig into the ice, because your wet hands on wet ice is not going to be able to drag you out. You're not going to be able to do it. Now with a pair of Carhartts or a snowmobile suit that doesn't have any flotation. But you're not also picking yourself up out of the ice. You're dragging yourself onto the ice, so it's a lot easier to drag than it is to try to lift. And then once you get on the ice, you're not going to stand right up because you're in a spot that you already fell through at. So you need to roll, and usually roll towards the direction you came or towards shore to get to safer ice before you get up on your hands and knees to test it. If it creaks, drop back down, roll some more. Once you get up on your hands and knees, then you can work to getting onto your feet and getting to safety. Hopefully by that time, someone's already seen you in trouble and has called help or is getting ready to assist you.
What about if your buddy drops through? I know in the past you said don't rush over there and try to get him, because then you're going to put yourself in trouble, in danger.
Yep. 2 people in are harder to rescue than 1. Your buddy falls in, first thing you do, call 911. Get someone going that direction before you try to do anything. Then get the rope, throw it out to them. Hopefully you can have something to grab a hold of. You got your creepers. Sit down on the ice, drag your creepers into the ice so you don't get sudden, so you can drag him up onto the ice, get him rolling away from that hole. There are a lot of suits out there now that are made, ice suits, ice armor. Clam makes them, Striker, all those, Mustang, that all have flotation in them. That's going to help you a huge amount getting out of the ice.
A lot of it is thinking ahead, planning worst case scenario, it sounds to me.
Correct. Oh, and think about it. You know, we train to do ice rescues, so we train to do these scenarios that we have encountered before, so that when we counter them again, we have an idea of what to do. And if we encounter something new, we use those experiences in that training to devise a plan to rescue the person in that situation that we have never done before. And it's a constant thought. But if you just grab your stuff and go on ice fishing and you don't think about ever falling in,
no.
You're not thinking about how you're going to get yourself out. You're going to panic more.
Well, Joe, listen, based on your tips, your advice, I'm hoping people will think ahead and have a plan and have the right gear. Congrats on your buck, and good luck on your 3rd, 4th, 5th retirement, whatever it is, and you and I will talk again soon.
Sounds great, Mike. You have a great day.
All right, you as well. Joe Marion talking about how to stay safe on the ice, because believe me, this guy helped write the book. We'll take a break. When we come back, Nick Green of MUCC right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on 2 stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan, again on 2 stations, Big Country Gold, WCBY 1240 AM 100.7 FM. And you can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Versa Skins is a very cool concept. I have a very nice Versa Skins hunting suit. Very warm, weatherproof, very well made. But it's in a camouflage pattern. But for the opening day of the firearm season, I could take a blaze orange outer shell, and in about a minute, I was able to snap on and zip on a blaze orange outer shell and be completely legal. And that way, I didn't have to buy a second jacket. I really like the concept. Versa Skins, just change your skin for the season you're in. Family-owned, Michigan-based company. And you know I love that. The website, versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. While you're online, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and head on over to MUCC.org, the website for the Michigan United Conservation Clubs. Nick Green is their Chief Information Officer, checking in now. Hey, Nick, how you doing? It's been a while. Doing anything fun?
I have been. I was able to get out for a pretty epic waterfowl hunt on the opening day of deer season. And the draw was pretty light, if you can imagine that. So we had a good hunt, and I'm looking forward to heading back home over the Thanksgiving holiday and hopefully being able to harvest a deer or two. So
I didn't see that one coming. A waterfowl hunt on the firearm opener, but you're a hardcore bird hunter, aren't you?
I am. When I got into bird dogs, that kind of took over my life in the fall, and I still like to go out with gun every once in a while and try to get a doe or two or whatever walks in front of me that's legal. But I spend most of my time bird hunting now.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. Well, and when you're not bird hunting or occasionally deer hunting, I know you guys there at MUCC in Lansing are just as busy as can be. What's on the agenda these days?
We are. So we've been, the legislature's been kind of quiet. They're back home deer hunting now for hunting season and Thanksgiving break. But the NRC has been kind of going strong. So we're working on right now working through steelhead regulations that would reduce the daily bag limit to one steelhead on select streams during the spawn season in the spring. And then especially probably of interest to your listeners is a proposed opening of walleye year-round on the Saginaw River from Center Street down to the mouth. So essentially that's closed right now during the spawn, and Commissioner Kozad's amendment to a fisheries order would open that season up. So that's kind of what we're working on. We don't have a policy position on the walleye or steelhead opening. Our fisheries committee has sent a letter regarding the steelhead regs, but we're kind of waiting to see what they're going to do with the walleye stuff.
Oh, that's interesting, because when it was closed, it was described as a spawning closure to protect the spawning fish. Either now they're saying those fish are actually spawning out on Saginaw Bay, or they're finding out it's not that important to protect the fish during the spawn. I'll be curious to learn more about that one, Nick.
Yeah, I think, what we're learning is just that the walleye population has exploded. If you remember in Saginaw Bay, they even lowered the perch limit to try and help protect that perch fishery, which is, declining due to predation and other factors from walleye. So there's just this boom of walleye right now in Saginaw Bay, and they're trying to look at it from a biological standpoint. Are we going to affect the population? And then work with angler opportunity in conjunction with that. So it'll be interesting to see what the biologists kind of say. We've had one presentation from Randy Claremont 2 months ago at the NRC. So we'll kind of see how those conversations go in December. I expect there'll be some movement on that.
I also found it interesting that you said a lot of the legislators are home right now, many of them deer hunting. Is there a significant number of our state legislators that are hunters?
I think there is, Mike. Every year, I can't remember the publication that does it. They actually look. You can look and see what legislators bought hunting licenses. So I hope they do that again. But I would say, it's part of a family tradition. So even a lot of legislators who might not hunt, they're definitely back home with their family members who are hunting, watching football. It's all kind of part of the tradition for us here in Michigan.
And we want that, right? We want the people in charge, the people making the decisions. We want them to be, if not active participants in our way of life, at least open to it and aware of it.
That's exactly right. The next best thing besides creating a hunter is creating an informed voter or a legislator. So when they go into a voting booth or they go into session or they're voting on important bills, They understand our way of life, and they understand the economic impact it has and why these are important parts of who we are as Michiganders.
Well, and I think that's a significant part of what you guys there at MUCC do is you are able to get to these people who make the decisions and make them aware of what's going on. And Nick, I appreciate it because, as much as we'd like to say the average person can make a difference, and we can, it's proven, it's been proven, we don't have the weigh in that you guys at MUCC do. And I appreciate the fact that you exercise those resources and you're helping us out. You're keeping an eye out for us.
We are, we have great relationships with all branches of kind of rule makers and policy makers and shakers. And that's kind of the one tangible way folks can really get involved. If they can't be at committee hearings, they can join MUCC, and we'll be your voice in Lansing. You can write resolutions, and we'll if those pass our convention, those are our marching orders, and we try to implement those resolutions.
Nick Green, appreciate that. And a reminder, if you want to save 25% on your MUCC membership, go to the website, mucc.org, and use the promo code Mike, all caps, MIKE, and save 25% on your MUCC membership. We'll take a break. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment, talking about can you bow hunt during the firearm season? You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. And you can hear us out in the Thumb in Sandusky on WMIC AM and FM. That's 660 AM 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by my friends from Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. This week's question, and by the way this segment works is, this is your chance to ask me a question, to make a comment that you're looking for a response from me or somebody at MUCC, DNR, somebody maybe you can't reach, but maybe I can. But this week is a very, very personal question. And here's the way it came about. I was out the opening day of the firearm season, and I posted a picture from my blind. Leaning up against the wall of the blind, on the right side is a 30-06, and right next to it is my Darton crossbow. And I said something about the post like, I'm ready for anything. If it comes within 30 yards, it's going to be the crossbow, and if it's beyond that, it's going to be the gun. And the reason being is I'm not a huge gun hunter when it comes to deer. Now, I love guns. I love the concept of personal protection. I love handguns, and I just love guns in general. But for some reason in my mind, if I shoot a deer, I want it to be with a bow, even if it's a crossbow, because in my mind, it's a one-shot, close-range tool where you're putting an arrow tipped with a broadhead through an animal, and that's the way I want to do it. Just me personally. That's what I would prefer. But I took the rifle out because, after all, it was the opening day of rifle season, and I thought if a great big buck comes out there 75 yards away, I want to be able to put him down. So I posted the picture, and I had several people comment and ask questions about, hey, I thought that the archery season was closed during the firearm season. And as an example of this, if you go to the hunting guide, it says this: Michigan archery season statewide runs from October 1st to November 14th, and then it picks back up again December 1st through January 1st. So if you look at that, you would think, well, the archery season is indeed closed. I can't use my bow, my recurve, my longbow, my crossbow. But that's not the case. If you look further into the guide, it says, and here's a question: can I use archery equipment during the firearm deer season? The answer is yes. During firearm deer season, you can use archery equipment, but you must follow all firearm season regulations, including the hunter orange requirement. So it is completely legal to use your bow or your archery, anything you could use during the archery season, you can indeed use during the firearm season legally, completely legally, but you got to wear orange. So what does that mean? You put on an orange hat, orange vest, full orange garb, top and bottom, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you've got the orange on, you can indeed continue to hunt during the firearm season with your archery gear. And that's good for me because my next outing, as we are recording the show right now, I hope to be in a tree stand tomorrow night. And my goal is to try to shoot a big doe with my dart and crossbow. Would I love to shoot a big buck? Absolutely. Any deer hunter who says, oh, I'm not interested in shooting a big buck is probably lying. Because as deer hunters, I think the goal is, the dream goal. How many of us actually do it? Percentage-wise, there are certain people who do it year after year after year, but they are exceptional hunters and they have good areas and they're very talented. But for most of us, the opportunity doesn't come along that many times in a hunting career. So would we love to shoot a big buck? Yes. Would I love to shoot a big buck? Yes. What would it take for me to shoot a buck with a rifle here in Michigan? It'd have to be, 3.5-year-old 10-point or something more, only because I have shot big bucks in the past with bows and with a gun. And my desire these days is, number one, I want to put one of those wreck broadheads through a whitetail. I shot a bear with that wreck, and I'm fascinated by this company, family-owned, Michigan-based company, and it did such a devastating job on a bear that I really want to put one through a deer and see what it does. But just in my mind, I would rather take a deer with my crossbow, again, which I consider to be an archery tackle. Why? Because it's a one-shot, close-range tool, 30, 40 yards, my maximum effective hunting range with that crossbow, which is really the same effective hunting range as my compound. Yes, you don't have to draw it, so you have that going for you. But, and yes, you could be more proficient, but isn't that the goal? To be as proficient as possible and make a quick, clean, humane killing shot. So I will be out there, hopefully tomorrow, sitting in a tree stand, and this big old doe is going to walk by me, the same doe that likes to look at you and stomp and snort. Well, hopefully she will come in, and I can put an arrow through her with my dart and crossbow during the firearm season and be completely legal because I will be wearing blaze orange. Thank you once again to my friends at Security Credit Union for helping to make each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org, securitycu.org. If you have a question for me for the Ask Avery segment, the best way, I think, is to send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Tim Roller of Whitetail Journey right here on Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us. I truly mean that. Thanksgiving is... How can Thanksgiving be this Thursday? I don't know how that happened. But when Thanksgiving, traditionally a time to look around and what are you thankful for? I've been blessed with so many things to be thankful for. And one of them is to be thankful for you. The fact that you are listening to this radio show right now, that you are listening to the podcast version of this radio show, that you have followed me and supported me and watched the old TV show and you listen to the radio show. I mean, it has allowed me, you have allowed me, along with God, of course, that ultimate credit, you have allowed me to pursue a dream and to live a dream. I mean, my job is to sit here at this microphone and talk about hunting and fishing, which for so many of us is such a passion. I mean, it is our way of life. It is what we do. It is what we think about. It is what it consumes us sometimes. And I'll just say deer hunting as an example, because we're, of course, in the firearm deer season right now. I've gotten back into deer hunting the last couple of years. There were a few years when I just completely got away from it because I let outside influences get to me. I let some negative factors affect my love for deer hunting. And once I realized, put that aside, Avery, and just hunt the way you want to hunt and don't worry about anybody else and don't worry about all the stuff on social media and just go do it. My interest in deer hunting is coming back. I don't have a passion for it that I did years ago. And it will probably never reach that level again, but that's okay. I am not a very good deer hunter, and I will admit that, readily admit that. My passions are walleye fishing, bear hunting, and turkey hunting. Deer hunting, yes, I do it to be part of the history and tradition, and I like being out in the woods in the fall with a bow. If I shoot an animal, it's more luck than it is skill. But from that reference, from that frame of mind, is why I really, really enjoy talking with people who are experts when it comes to any particular field. But we'll continue on in deer hunting. I have the utmost respect for people who can look at a piece of land and dissect it and know where to put stands and where to put cameras and when to go to the stand and when not to, and target a big buck, target a specific buck, and follow through and make that happen and consistently shoot big bucks year after year, or at least have close encounters year after year. I respect that. And on that list of people who can do that is Tim Roller. Tim, a good friend of mine, known him for many, many years. First met him when he was a river fishing guide, fishing steelhead in the river, casting for kings, casting cranks for kings. He eventually became a pro staffer. This is crazy, right? That he was one of my pro staffers on the old Outdoor Magazine television show. Excuse me. He did that for a couple of years and said, Mike, I got to go out and do this on my own. And he did, and he was very, very successful at it. He has since moved on into other things, but his passion for deer hunting, I think, continues, and his ability to educate and share information about deer hunting is top notch. And that's why I always look forward to having him here on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tim, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I am doing great, Mike. Thanks again. Good to be back. Always
a pleasure. So, how's your season going so far?
It's going great. I haven't shot a thing, and it's going great. I think we talked about this one of the last times I was on when we were talking about deer hunting. My hunting now is just, not entirely, but I love hunting through my son now. And showing him stuff, teaching him, and watching him grow as a hunter. And that's where I get my kicks now. So we do a lot of work throughout the summer together. He's really getting passionate about hunting, which I absolutely love, because I know it's something he's going to be able to do for the rest of his life. And he's becoming a really, really good hunter. He's killed he's bettered his best buck every year the last 3 years now, and he's getting really proficient with his bow and reading ground and all those things that we just love to do as a father-son team.
What makes a good deer hunter?
Oh, I don't know that that's I don't know that there's one thing or 100 things. I think there's so many different things that could quantify that, right? I think like anything else, you got to have a passion for it. We do what we're passionate about, right? So no matter what that is, what makes a good golfer, what makes a good bowler, what makes a good gardener, it's people that are passionate about it to begin with, and then they invest their time there. That's ultimately where our time goes. Our time goes in the things that we're passionate about. And so I think those two things, there's no secrets. It's just time. It's just time out there and observing and seeing patterns that are consistent year after year after year, and tweaking things as you go.
You said something very interesting. You said there's no secret. It's just observing. Well, to me, see, that's the difference, Tim. I can spend all the time out there that you can, but I don't necessarily observe the things that I need to be paying attention to. I'll get out there and I'll get my own little world and I'll start to daydream. But you, and now your son apparently, you have the ability to be out there and focus on and pay attention to what is going to make the difference.
Yeah, but again, I'll go back to the fact that that's what we love to do. I've had a passion for trying to get better and better at this since, well, a long time. We'll just put it that way, 35 plus years. I think it's all how you approach it, and to be good, quote unquote, at whatever is different to each person. It's just like the deer that I try and kill each year. I get criticized by some people. I get laughed at by others, and that's my choice to do that. If somebody else's choice is to go out and shoot the first legal deer they see, knock yourself out. You know, it's different for each person. So how deep you want to take it or how good you want to be at something I think that's a different definition for each person.
And I think that's one of the cool things about deer hunting or hunting or fishing in general. It is what you want it to be. It can be a weekend warrior where you go out and you drink a beer and smoke a cigar and maybe I'll catch a fish, maybe I won't. Or you can get into tournaments and be a charter captain, like hunting. I go out and sit in the woods. If I see a deer, I'm happy. Or you can get somebody else who's out there targeting a specific buck. It's what you want it to be, yet the experience is still valid. And honestly, it's just as much fun for the guy who shoots the year-and-a-half-old 6-point, I think, in some ways, as the guy who takes the booner.
It should be. Hopefully it is, yeah. Your experience should be, your fulfillment of whatever you're doing is based on you. And so make it whatever it is that fulfills you. If you see a deer that, excites you and you want to shoot it, like I said, if it's legal, shoot it. You want to go catch a certain type of fish, whatever you want that to be, just like you said. So, yeah, just your experience has to be something that's fulfilling to you. And a lot of times that's not going to be, I think where people I see sometimes maybe miss the mark a little bit is their success, their fulfillment is determined by if they fill a tag, if they catch a certain number or a certain type or a certain whatever fish, on any given time. You're dealing with stuff that you can't control ultimately when we're talking about wild animals and fish. If your enjoyment level of that is determined by that, I think you're missing the mark. You got to enjoy what you're doing out there, and anything that comes on top of that, regardless of how much time and effort you put in beforehand, it's got to be looked at as somewhat of a bonus.
I couldn't agree more, but I'm not ready to give up on this question yet. So what does it take? I'll rephrase it. So what does it take here in Michigan to consistently shoot big bucks?
Oh, there's very few people doing it, and I'm certainly not one of them. You got to be where they are. Number one, I don't care how good of a hunter you are. You can't. And whatever big is to you, let's just say you said booner, so let's say 170 class buck. I could be the best hunter in the world. You put me in an area where there are no 170-inch bucks, I'm not going to kill a 170-inch buck. That's just plain and simple. So, number one, you got to be where they are. Whatever that measuring stick is for you, that equates to a big buck. And then it's just dialing it in. It really is. There's so many things I feel that go into it. It's attention to detail, probably more than anything. And there's a fine line between patience and aggressiveness, and you've got to know when to kind of cross back and forth with that line.
I got to follow up on that, Tim, but we got to take a break here. We're talking with Tim Roller. Tim, the website for the TV show was whitetailjourney.com. Where do you want people to look for you online these days?
Yeah, that's still up, and we're gonna try and put some digital online content on there. Probably the best place to interact with me is just right on Facebook.
All right. Sounds good. Tim Roller, Whitetail Journey, whitetailjourney.com, or find him on Facebook. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. I'm trying to think what he said. What did he say? Passion? Help me out, Pat. It was something I wanted to follow up on. Passion versus aggression. Well, listen. We'll figure out what it was, and we'll follow up on it. Because he made a great point, and I can't think of just exactly how he worded it. But we'll delve into that topic in one form or another after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC AM and FM, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us in Newberry on WNBY, 1450 AM, just a few of our 32 affiliate stations. Also a podcast available anywhere you get your podcasts from. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by, let me find my list, Wilds, my friends at Wilds, Plumbing and Heating, air conditioning, cooling, duct work, cleaning, sump pumps, man, anything, maintenance, installation. The folks at Wilds can help you out. Check them out online. Their slogan, by the way, is whatever it takes. I love working with a company who has that mindset, whatever it takes. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. While you are online, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and head on over to whitetailjourney.com, the website of Tim Roller. We're talking to Tim now, and before the break, he said something that was so interesting. There's a fine line between patience. I wrote it down here because every once in a while, I will get a comment here on the show that makes me want to write it down and remember it. This one is from Tim. There's a fine line between patience and aggression, and you have to know when to go back and forth between them. Now, we're talking in reference to deer hunting. But Tim Roller, I almost feel like that's a slogan for life in general.
Boy, yeah, in a lot of ways it is.
In reference to deer hunting, what do you mean by that, though?
Well, I think a lot of people get aggressive when they have a buck that they're trying to kill, and I think patience is one of those things. It's easy when you have a buck, say you get it on camera or you see it or whatever it may be, that's bigger than anything you've ever had a chance at before. You naturally want to go in there and try and get on it. And where I see a lot of people, and this is from my experience, when I was learning this game, is you go in when the timing's not right. And if it's not right, you're going to blow what chance you could have had down the road. There's a time to be patient in those scenarios, and then there's a time to get aggressive. And I've had just as many opportunities on big deer, and I was too patient. I didn't get aggressive when I needed to, and I lost my opportunity at them. And so it goes both ways. There's a certain time in a certain place that's going to be connected to that time. And when you can start dialing those things in and know when to go in, know when to get in aggressive, and maybe that means going into a bedding area or right on the fringe of one, you got to know the timing of that, and there's no set answer. And then conversely of that, you got to be patient and not go busting in there and run him out of there before you ever have the right conditions to go in there.
Excellent advice. You mentioned cameras. Now, you've been using these forever. But they really have changed the way we deer hunt, the way we scout, haven't they?
Oh, my goodness. I think for me, trail cameras are the single biggest thing to hit deer hunting as far as an improvement in probably 30 years. I bought one of the first ones. There was a guy out of Wisconsin that was making what I refer to now as homebrew cameras. He was making them in his garage. And he kind of started going around to the deer shows. And the first year he came out, there were no websites or anything back then. This is, when would it have been? Early 90s, maybe late 80s. And it was a regular film camera inside this housing that was hooked up to a motion trigger, and so you'd put in a roll of film, and of course you'd get 36 because that was the biggest roll you could get, and undoubtedly a limb would move or a bird would sit on the limb in front of you, and all 36 pictures would go off in 10 seconds, and you'd be so excited, and you'd go back in, you'd get the film, and then you'd run to Meijer or Walmart, and you'd wait for the 1 hour, and you'd look at your pictures, and you have a fawn standing there for 5 minutes, or you have a bird or the sun or whatever. It was frustrating and exhilarating at the same time. There were so many times where I'd go sit at the 1 hour and just wait for these pictures, hoping, that you got some kind of a deer. And so, but still then, that changed the game because we were using, strings across trails, and they'd have a little timer.
Yeah.
And you'd get one trip, and it'd tell you what time, and you had no idea what trip did or anything. You were trying anything to get some kind of intel. And so when cameras came out, that was a huge deal. And the way they've evolved now up to cellular cameras where you can literally sit in your house and see real time basically as pictures come in. It's a pretty incredible tool for sure.
This is kind of my first fall playing around with these cell cameras. I'm piggybacking on my son James's account, but man, is it addicting.
As much it can get almost as addicting as hunting itself because you kind of feel like you're hunting, right? Especially this time of the year. I wake up in the morning, my alarm goes off, and I can't wait to see what pictures I have from overnight. But they can also drive you crazy.
Yeah.
I should have been there, I should have been, and you can't, you got to curtail some of that too. You got to keep it all in perspective, but they're an incredible tool for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at a food plot right now, and there's a big doe in there that's got my name on it. So we got to get this going here, Tim. I got to get out in the woods.
There you go.
Hey, so here in Michigan, of course, we have a tremendous amount of hunting pressure, much more than we see on some of these TV shows where out west they make it look so easy. So it is hard here in Michigan. Now, at this point, as people have been hearing this show, the deer have been hunted with guns now for almost a week. They were hunted with bows for 6 weeks. It's a different critter than they were back on October 1st, aren't they?
100%, yeah. Yeah, there's, the later you go in a season, the more difficult it gets just because of that pressure. And that's one of those things I was alluding to earlier. You got to know, patience really comes in now. The later on you get in the season, especially once we start getting into December. Patience and aggression both comes in then, and probably more so than any other time other than right before the rut just kicks hard. That pre-rut time is a really interesting time as well. But late season is one of those times where you've really got to have your stuff in order if you're going after an older class deer. And a lot of that happens months before. For me, my preparation is year round. I'm doing stuff all the time, but I'll put in food plots or I'll set stands in June and July specifically for December. And I won't go near those things until that time because of, the pressure is definitely a factor in that. And so I try and leave areas as calm and as almost as a sanctuary as I can. So the first time I go in, hopefully I can, kind of use the element of surprise.
And are those December sets usually over food, around food, near food?
I think they're definitely related to food. I think you got to back off the food, but listen, once that winter weather sets in, especially deer coming off the rut, does and bucks, they've been running around. They lose a ton of body weight. They need to replenish to get through our winters here. So food and bed is all they're about once they're done breeding. And so I'm not saying you're sitting right on food because that can get pretty dangerous as far as bumping deer out of there. I don't hunt mornings hardly at all once late season gets here because I don't want to push deer off that food. I want them to feel secure in there. And a lot of times I'm going to get in somewhere between where they're bedding and where they're feeding because most of the time they're still, because of all the pressure, not going to be getting to that food in daylight. They will have some sort of a staging area. Could be 20 yards. It could be 120 yards off that food. When I can find where that is, then I can sneak in there early in the afternoon and hopefully catch them deer as they get into that staging area still in daylight.
You said something interesting, too, about, does need to recover from the rut. I always think about, bucks are running around and they're rutting and, they need to replenish. But you're right. Those does have been worked over pretty hard for a while, too. Yeah, just as much. In fact, it's interesting because, and you can, again, this is how you can tell so many things on those cameras. About a week and a half ago, it was like every time I'd get a picture of a doe on a camera, if they were in a food plot, they'd put their head down quick, grab a bite, and then it's up, and it's just constantly on the swivel. Every picture of their head was looking a different way. Like when you see those does in the woods and they're just walking on eggshells and they're constantly looking around, they are scared to death because they are getting chased and bumped and bothered by every buck, and it's really starting to just get going at that point. And so, yeah, they are freaking out, and they're running around just as much as the bucks, if not more so. Because a buck can kind of go into a food plot and pick the right doe, and he'll just chase around where all the other does are running around trying to get away. They get run down just as much. Plus, a lot of them are going to be pregnant at this point, and so they've really got to, make sure they're sustaining not only themselves but the fawns that they're growing inside as well. Is there in Michigan? Is there this second rut around mid-December, early December that we hear so much about in other states? Yeah, I know that's what people refer to. It's not really a second rut. It's just, and that's a good way to explain it, I guess, for people. But I've seen it. You can call it third or fourth even. I've watched in February bucks breed does. It's just if a doe does not get bred the first time she comes into estrus, 30 days later, roughly, she's coming back in, and she will continue to come back in until she gets successfully bred to a certain point. Now, I've seen fawns walking around in December with spots on them and that are real tiny. And so, there's a real late born. You can determine when you see a fawn almost how long it's been around and when that fawn was dropped. And then you can go back from there when that doe was bred. And it does happen. There's always a later and an earlier. There's a lot of does that are bred as early as late September. And in October, there's a ton. And that's just nature's way of, if everything happened in a week, boy, if something went wrong in that week, we'd lose our deer herd. Yeah, absolutely. Tim, always a pleasure, and I'm so glad to hear that you are, on the show, I'm always talking about the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle, and it's wonderful that you are passing down this history and tradition and this passion to your son. And he's got a great teacher. He's going to turn into a great deer hunter himself, I'm sure. Well, I appreciate that. And a pretty good golfer, too, from what I hear. What's that? A pretty good golfer, too, from what I hear. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, he's a great golfer. Yeah, we're having all kinds of fun with that, too. So. All right, Tim, always a pleasure. The website, whitetailjourney.com, whitetailjourney.com, or find him on Facebook for his other ventures he's involved in now, very successful at that as well. Tim is one of those guys where when he sets his mind to something, whatever it is, he's going to do it to the best of his ability. He's going to do it right, and he's going to be extremely successful at it. And I appreciate that. I appreciate passion. I appreciate a work ethic, and I appreciate guys like Tim Roller. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show, a few more thoughts, and then we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef Dave Minar right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on the west side of the state. A couple of great stations, News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN in Ludington, and just up the road in Manistee, WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us on the east side of the state as well, in Saginaw on WSGW AM and FM, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. In fact, I'm in their studios right now. For this 3 hours, though, I got a little corner carved out here that we call the Outdoor Magazine studio. I'm in here with Pat Johnston doing a wonderful job. As always, wouldn't be possible, Pat, without you at the controls keeping me on track. Because when Pat says it's time to end a segment or it's time to go to commercial, he means it. And even if I'm talking, he will close the mic and go to a commercial. So he is ultimately in control. He's in charge here. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let them create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves, though, right? Right now, what you're concerned is just finishing up fall cleanup and snow removal. I know. Well, the folks from Reader can help you out with that as well. And it won't be too far down the road where you've been dreaming about this oasis in your backyard. Well, it'll be time to get that scheduled as well. Whatever it is, maintenance, improvement, the folks from Reader can help you out. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. I always enjoy my conversations with Tim Roller. He's such an interesting guy. And throughout my career, I have been blessed to really work with and get to know so many, many interesting people. I mentioned in that conversation that at one point, Tim Roller was a pro staffer for the Outdoor Magazine TV show. One of the things I can hang my hat on is that over the years, I was in some small way involved in 3 people experiencing their dream of an outdoor TV show. One is Tim Roller. Tim was a pro staffer of mine. He went out and he started Whitetail Journey. Mark Romanak from Fishing 411 and Precision Trolling was a pro staffer of mine. He went out and started the Fishing 411 TV show. Both 2 very well names here in Michigan. And the third one, a guy from New York, Gus Conjemi, who was also a pro staffer of mine. I first met Gus at a whitetail camp up in Alberta. Found him to be just extraordinarily interesting, extraordinarily knowledgeable, and full of energy. And he became a pro staffer of mine for a few years. And then he started his own TV show as well called Live the Wildlife. So see? Good things happen when you hang with good people. And I don't mean hanging with me. I mean me hanging with good people. And I've been really blessed to do that over the years. And I have found that you cannot put too much emphasis on that at all. Because if you associate with good people, if you make friends with good people, if you have business dealings with good people, things are generally going to go in a positive way. Conversely, if you go the opposite direction, you can expect those results as well. What else is on my list here? This is Thanksgiving coming up Thursday. I still can't believe that. At the Avery House, there will be a turkey, of course, and a Michigan brand ham. We always have their spiral cut honey glazed hams for every holiday, which reminds me, every Wednesday night on my Wednesday Night Live program, live on my social media streams, we do a ham for the holidays, courtesy of Nick Grillo and the Grillo family of Michigan Brand Meats. Please join us for that. Speaking of holidays, I know it's coming up, Christmas. I was thinking about a really good Christmas gift the other day. If you have a hunter on your list, whether it's a deer hunter, a bear hunter, a turkey hunter, I think that Wraith 270 see-through ground blind from Primal Tree Stands would be an excellent, excellent present. The thing with these is you can hide in them. You can sit in them and the critters can't see in, but you can see out. 270 degrees of visibility. I've used them for deer, bear, and turkeys, and they are phenomenal. And I got a way, I'm going to hook you up here. I got a way you can get one of those, get it in time for Christmas, and get it cheap. Go to the website, primaltreestands.com. primaltreestands.com. When you go to checkout, use the promo code Avery, A-V-E-R-Y, and you can get one for $199.42. Now, these see-through blinds, when they first came out, were $500 and $600. I know because I bought a few of them. And I bought a few of these Primal stands as well, these Wraith 270s, because they're a great product at a great price. And honestly, I think they would make an absolutely wonderful Christmas present for the hunter on your list. Go to the website, primaltreestands.com. When you go to checkout, use the promo code Avery, and you can get one for $199 and change. By the way, anything on that website, and they don't list their tree stands on the website just because the shipping costs would be really, really high. Everything other than their tree stands is on the Primal website. And you can use the promo code Avery to get deep discounts on everything on the website. How cool is that? So my plan is, as we're here in the studio recording midweek, as we always do, tomorrow evening, I want to get back out in the woods. I got a spot where I think I have a reasonable chance at shooting a big doe with my dart and crossbow. Now you might say, well, why am I going out there with a crossbow? It's firearm season. Yes, as we established earlier in the show, you can legally hunt with archery gear during the firearm season as long as you wear blaze orange. It's legit. It's above board. And that's what I'm going to try to do. Try to put down a big doe and put some venison in the freezer. I mean, that's the goal, right? Most of us, isn't that we want? Yeah, we want to shoot a big buck, yada, yada. But ultimately, we want to put some venison in the freezer. And that's my goal tomorrow night. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up. Speaking of venison, with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar, and I bet he has another great venison recipe for us right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. So glad to have you along with us. Happy Thanksgiving week to you. I still can't wrap my brain around that. And then it'll be Christmas. And then it'll be New Year. And then it'll be 2022. Where does the time go? Oh, if you've been with us before, you know I like to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar. And this week is no different. David, welcome back. How you doing, buddy?
Better now.
Yeah, we had a little hard time getting in touch with you. You must be up. You must be up north hunting.
Yeah, I think during bad weather we get rainy weather. It's pouring here, so I think that has something to do with our crappy reception.
You know what? I think it does as well. But how is it affecting your hunting? Have you been out? Have you done any good?
Yeah, no, we haven't done any good. We've seen a fair amount of deer, a lot of little spikes, fork horns, small little like basket sixes, but saving them for the twin nephew or my nephews that are 10 years old that'll be coming up on the weekend. So hopefully they'll get a poke at something.
Oh, wouldn't that be a thrill to have them come up and knock down one of those small bucks? That would be so cool.
Even a big one. We got
a big one, yeah.
Here too. Anything, doe, a big doe, anything. I've just been holding off to let them have their deal,
So David, on your property there, I mean, yeah, we would all shoot a big buck if we had the opportunity. Yes, absolutely. But realistically, what does your hunt look like? Are you out there doe hunting? Is that what you think is probably going to happen?
Not yet. I'm going to wait a while till it gets cold so I can hang the deer. We got a good place. We got a walk-in cooler in camp. Everybody should have one, actually, but we're going to wait a while until we start to take a couple of does off. And if a big buck walks by, I'll be happy. I see him on the cameras, but I like eating deer myself personally, and so does the wife. And that's just the way that it's going to be. If we don't get a decent buck, then the other ones from this year are going to grow up and maybe look better next year.
There you go. And I'm going to throw you a curveball, Dave. I know we were going to do a venison recipe, but you brought something up that I want to follow up on. And this is this whole concept of hanging deer. A lot of different thoughts on that, but there's really there is a certain way that you should do it, right?
What I like to do and what I've done, and say when I was on the farm growing up, we always hung the cattle that we butchered because my job was to raise a calf every year. And when we hung it in the barn to age, we always hung it head down. And so I do my deer the same way, and I do it with the skin on, and that keeps it from drying out. We make sure that we keep our garden hose always. I have a compression tank, and I blow the hose out in between each time so that we can still use it in the winter. We rinse the animal very, very well. Get any blood or anything inside out rinsed real good, just like a butcher shop would do. And you should treat your deer the same way, and I like to hang it like that. I go anywhere from 8 to 10 days if the temperature is right, just above freezing. Man, the meat has such a great flavor, and it gets so tender because rigor mortis goes away from what I've read after about 6 to 7 days. And then the meat relaxes, just like beef would or pork or any of the animals. Not so much pork because it doesn't have that sinew and stuff like beef or venison.
Yeah, the first time I heard how long you hang those, I was actually quite shocked. I didn't think that was even. I didn't think it was safe.
Oh yeah, man! It proper temperature is the key. You know, if you're gonna say you get a deer, and it's like this today, Wednesday, you know, because it's no joke that we do it. The recording, it's going to be up to 50 degrees. If you get a deer this evening, I would get it off, get it all nice and cool, and just because it's going to go down to 35 or so tonight, what you want to do is take a big heavy blanket or a sleeping bag and make sure the deer is in the shade and wrap it around and make sure that it's nice and tight. That's going to insulate it. And now the next day it's going to be 40 degrees. You know, the average walk-in cooler is about 36. So, you know, if you play your cards right, you can still do 4 or 5 days easy in the field, you know. So just got to play it right and think how to do it, you know, to insulate it during the day, keep it out of the sun, and then at night open it up. Make sure you got the body cavity open real good, too. That's another thing you want to do. Let it air out real good fast.
Yeah, let it cool out from the inside, too, right, by opening it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly, because them hams and them front shoulders are real thick, so you got to go outside, inside, and cool it together, you know.
All right, David. What about the restaurant? Oscar and Joey's, how's it going?
Busy, real busy. My goodness gracious. You know, it was Deer Hunter Widow last weekend. It'll be the same thing this week, and it's just been fabulous. Wish I could get some help.
You're singing the same song I hear from everybody else. All right. Hey, listen, have fun this weekend with the twins. Looks like it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, me too. I just can't wait. So.
All right. Good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason for me to do this. And then what else am I going to do at this point in my life, right? Nobody wants me. I'm too old to go to work for somebody else. So this is what it is. And I'm able to do it because you are listening, you are following me on social media, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Do not hesitate to reach out, and I will talk with you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.